Hey, folks, I have Chrissie Mayr on today, who we are friends. I feel like I should disclose this is not going to be a hard hitting interview about the state of your life and all the things that you have to atone for. Although now I kind of
Oh,
want to do it.
I wanted a bunch of gotchas.
That was the plan. Anyway, I just want to talk about you being a mom and just have a nice chill little discussion here. That's what the people
Oh,
are here for.
sure.
Her links are gonna be in the bio after the show though, because she didn't send those to me. So
Oh,
nice
I'm so
nice
sorry.
job.
My God, the atoning starts now.
It
I'm
begins.
I will
So
send this to you.
talk a little bit about uh having a baby. So you just had a baby. I can't believe you're 4 months postpartum because I was like, that baby's probably like
Really?
2 months old or something. Like other people's pregnancies and everything go so much faster than your own.
They do.
But I did want to talk about this, like the newborn phase and being on the right online and having that public persona postpartum, which for me was a fucking nightmare.
Oh my. First of all, I can't get over how cute you are. Like, I don't
Oh,
know. I'm
thank
like
you
really
so much.
I'm like so blown away by how adorable you are.
Oh, thanks.
I might need a moment. I'm
I
not
am I
gay,
am a
but
post wall bitch.
hey, we too. The wall is what you make it.
Yeah.
First of all of our moms and grandmas hit the wall,
Yeah, who
and
cares?
it's a funny concept, the wall. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just had a baby too.
I did. I have a 6-month-old now. Yeah.
You're 2 months ahead of me, and we have this fabulous moms group. Big shout out to Lydia Leiterman, who added me to this moms group. It's been life changing on Twitter.
Yeah.
We will talk about when I think when I first joined, people were sharing pictures of diapers, like the first meconium shits that a baby does. And I was like, this is gonna be fun. And then the next
Yeah.
day it was like shitting on Pearl. I was like, this is great. This is everything I want in one
She's always like, "I
place.
know there's a mom's group about me." I'm like, "You are right."
About you, no. I mean,
No, I know.
we're yeah, mom stuff first. And oh my god, it's so funny. I sit here with my hair that is still wet from a shower I
Me
took
too.
last night. My favorite time now is the time right after the baby goes to sleep at night, like at
Oh,
around
yeah.
like 9 if we're lucky, but 10, sometimes 11. And then you go, oh my god, I have like a good 2, maybe 3 hours to
Right.
do something. And you should be exhausted, but you're not. You're just so excited that you have time. So usually that's when I shower. That's when I'll
Yep.
like do podcasting work, get episodes up. That's when I do laundry and fold laundry.
That's when I
um
shave my lower legs. Uppers, that's out of the
Ooh.
question. Just
Uppers. Who's touching the uppers? I mean, the
I
uppers
know.
aren't even that hairy.
It's not so bad.
Oh my god, it's
Oh, I love
mother.
that time of the night. It's so great.
And then everybody else is asleep, and then you stand there and just sort of scowl at your sleeping husband like, "You just have no idea." Um, it's fun. It's, like,
Yeah.
really fun, but, it's so funny just to think a year and 2 months ago, I was not married and did not have a baby, and
Yeah,
I
things
was
change fast, right?
yeah, they really can, and whoo! It's obviously a net positive. You look at your little bean's face and you're like, "Oh, I would suffer 1,000 times more to have you." It's, of
Yes.
course, immediately worth it, and you're just like, "Oh, wow, this is." You go from thinking, because the whole time I was pregnant, I called him the bean because I didn't know I was pregnant for 7 weeks, and by the time I got my app, he's the size of a bean. I was like, "Oh, shit." He's like a I really beat myself up because I drank a lot of White Claw those 7 weeks, and, I was just convinced that I had made him retarded or gay or something worse, and, no, I'm just kidding. There is nothing worse than being, gay. So I was just felt horrible, and then we go through the pregnancy exams, like, all the appointments, and I don't really, love going to the doctor, but I looked
Oh,
forward to it because I was like, "Oh, I get to see the bean."
yeah.
I was like, "We get to see the bean today. I get to do and then the times that I'd go to the baby doctor and we wouldn't do an ultrasound, I'd be like I'd feel gypped. I'd be like, "I wanted to see the bean. Like,
Yeah.
show me the bean. What is
Because
he
it creates
doing?"
that connection, and that's the weird thing about pregnancy, it's like, you're connected to the baby, but also you don't have any fucking clue what's going on in there. I'm like,
It's
how do I
scary.
know that, like, the
Yeah.
baby's eyes and I had to get rid of that app that told me that my baby's the size of a broccoli or whatever.
The fruit
It
app?
yeah, I
Yeah.
was
I mean,
like,
there's
"I'm not doing that." It's like, "Today, your baby's eyes are being formed," and I'm like, "I I can't I can't do that in my mind."
yeah,
I
like,
I
what
cannot.
happens if that doesn't happen?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was blown away by how quickly things happen and how magically and how complete things happen. Like, I'm so blessed to have, what seems like an extremely perfectly healthy, bouncing baby boy. He's 16 weeks now, about to be 4 months. Isn't that the same thing? I don't know. I can't do math anymore because your brain disappears when you get
Yeah,
pregnant and having your
the
whole
part,
brain
yeah.
goes into the baby, and I don't know if it's gonna come back. I don't think it is.
It does to some degree. I mean, it's never the same, but, when I was postpartum with my daughter Emmeline, one time I put her in the car, and then I got into the passenger seat, and I just sat there,
Like,
and I was
who's
like,
gonna
"Oh
drive
my
us?
god." I know,
Yeah.
it was so mind-bogglingly retarded that I was like, "Maybe I shouldn't be driving." Like, I'm too dumb to operate a motor vehicle. I don't
Yeah.
know, but
I
it does
wonder
come back a little bit.
I wonder if my baby, like, now that he's taken all my brain, ever said to himself, like, "Well, it's not much, but I'll work with it," you know?
Yeah, really.
And the whole time and I was on tour while I was pregnant, like, I was doing shows up
How did you
until
do that?
I was really lucky to have a very easy 1st and 2nd trimester. I
Well, what
had
happened in the 3rd
0
trimester?
shit got real, and
Yeah.
I felt huge. I just felt like I felt immobile. I felt like you can't touch your toes. You can't put your shoes on.
Yeah.
Sleeping is really uncomfortable,
Yes,
but
yeah.
it's great because it prepares you for not sleeping when the baby comes. So, I think everything prepares you for the next state. Because while you're pregnant, you're like you're caring for someone other than yourself, and, it's just you have well, a normal person would have 9 months to get ready, but I had, uh 7 months or whatever it was. Yeah.
What
I
when
was
how s what when was your baby born?
April 10th,
Oh, okay. Like, week-wise in the gestational.
38 weeks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, 38 weeks. He was due on April 19th. I went out April 8th, stared right into the eclipse like I do every time there's an eclipse. I do a Trump. I just do like a I have
Hmm.
to look right at it, and I swear that that broke my water because, after that was April 8th, and then I just noticed for 2 days I'd be bending down to get things, or I'd be sitting doing a podcast, and then I'd get up after a while, and I would just leak. I would
Yep,
leak fluid.
yeah.
Thought,
It's
"This is
not
just"
like in the movies. It's
No, it's
yeah,
not, and I was like, "I guess I'm just leaking, and this is a normal part of pregnancy.
yeah.
Sorry, underwear." I mean, and not like it's you're leaking anything gross, it's just you're leaking,
Amniotic
like,
fluid, yeah.
water. Yeah,
But
and,
that's how you know, because my water broke with my first one at 36 and a half weeks, and, like, at that point in time, I'm like, I honestly do not even know if I just pissed myself because it happened in the middle of the night. So I made my husband smell the sheets. He was like are you serious? Are you gonna make me do this?" I'm like, "You have to. I need a second opinion." And he smelled it. He's like, "That smells like nothing." And I was like,
right.
"No."
Oh, wow.
So
You're
my
like, "So
water had broken.
either I squirted or it's go time."
It was go time. It was like 3 AM and yeah,
Cool.
it was
That's
bad.
I was looking forward to, like, a dramatic 3 AM water breaking myself, you know? I'm like, "Oh, are we
Yeah.
gonna be
Mm-mm.
tired? Are we gonna is it gonna be the middle of the night? Am I gonna Is it gonna splash onto my shoes? Is it gonna ruin a pair of shoes like in the movies?" And I almost completely ignored that shit. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
probably fine. It's probably not." 'Cause
'Cause
I
it's
was
like less than a tablespoon when it starts. Yeah. Mm.
and your body continues to make amniotic fluid, so it's not like it's leaking out until he's dry in there. It's
Right,
like your
right.
body keeps making it and you keep leaking it.
Yep.
And so I went to the hospital and, I'm like, "I'm sure this is nothing. I'm sure you're gonna send me right back out." But and then they're like,
They're
"No,
like,
we
"No,
checked you.
bitch."
Your water's broken. You're already having contractions, bitch. You can't leave." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "But I wanted to do a Hollywood entrance. I wanted like I didn't have my outfit. I didn't have like my luggage. I went with nothing. I was deprived of my entrance moment, my big entrance." And so that's fine. And then it's funny that the cliched moment of like where your husband looks at the bed that he'll be sleeping in and he's like, "Oh
Oh,
no,
man.
on that." And I'm like, "Oh, I feel so bad for you." Like, wow,
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
hard. Must be really hard to be
It
you.
is. It's yeah, it's just so hard. My husband, he's so worthless during birth. Like with my daughter, I look at him. I'm in labor. I think I might have even been pushing, and I look over and he's on Barstool Sports scrolling through. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't know
Like,
what they
what's
can do
new?
though.
What's
I
new over there?
mean,
Maybe they have a birth section of the website.
but part of me it feels like, all right, let's just get men out of this. Is a woman's.
No, you're right. Although I believe I wish I had more men in the doctor role, because I was starting to look around. I'm like, there's a lot of fucking women in here.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
there's
I felt great about that though, because I had the midwife that delivered my first baby. Because we have
oh,
hospital midwives in Idaho,
that's nice.
and they're great. They're nurses. You don't have to deal with like male OB-GYNs with bad bedside manner, and like I just wanted to be left alone. This time I just
Yeah.
labored in the bath at the hospital by myself. I'm like,
Wow,
everybody
that's
get the fuck out.
cool.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. I wanted a by myself labor, but you can't really do that on your first one, and you can't do that
No, no.
as a geriatric, because if the baby comes out with the fucking cord wrapped around its neck and
Yeah,
a
you got to be
fucking
on it.
and needs back pills right away because you're geriatric, then you need reinforcements. You can't do it at home, because if shit goes down, then
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
irresponsible. So I watched a lot of Instagram, birthing in a tub videos, ladies that were popping them out in their kitchen, catching them, wiping them off, and then making dinner. And
Yeah, really. I don't think that's in me.
I really love in the chat, people are already calling me a grifter. Like, I think now anybody who does anything
It's called a grifter.
is a
Yeah.
grifter. Like,
But what is a grift? Like, how much money do you have to make to grift?
I
I would
don't
like to know.
I would like to know, because I would like to be making that amount of
I
money
know.
instead
I
of
think people
whatever it is
think
that I'm
that we
doing.
make more money than we. You know who's
I
rich?
Yeah.
Pearl. Pearl is
Oh,
rich.
yeah.
She's making money. But
She has a
like,
rich family. You
yeah.
know who's rich? Is like anybody, I guess, on the Daily Wire. Anybody,
Yeah.
the people on the Blaze make six figures.
No,
Like
yeah.
anybody on a real network. Like I did a show on Compound Media, which is a small network, for 5 or 6 years. People thought I made a salary for that. I'm like, no, no, no. You
No.
could pay maybe a phone bill with what I made
Yeah.
a month.
I'm not
So
monetized. I
yeah,
don't I was banned off of not PayPal, Patreon. So I only have the Subscribe Star. I make like $200 a month. That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
It
I
really
do this
like
because I love you guys. That's why.
I think, I have a lot of restraint, and, like, when things get tough, I go, "You can always start an OnlyFans," you know?
Yeah, really. My friends send me like reels about people selling pictures of their feet, and I have just freakish feet, like totally freakish. I'm like, no. I sent a picture of my friend Robin the other day of my feet, and I said, nobody wants what I have.
Oh, well, we're like opposites, Rebecca, because I was a foot model for a time
No way.
in my wild youth. Yes, I answered a Craigslist ad, and I became a foot model, and I thought in the foot modeling world, there's the size 6, there's the 7, 8, 9, 10, and
And you have a 12 and a half size
I
foot.
thought every size foot has its own. It's called fit modeling. That's not the case. The size 7 is the default shoe size, and I had like perfect arches. I mean,
Oh, that's
I,
great.
they're
Mhm.
still good now, I think. I haven't looked at them, but I it's not a glamorous job, by the way. You made $50 an hour. They wouldn't even keep me an hour. They'd keep me for like 15, 20 minutes, and then they'd be
But you
like,
got
all right,
free
bye.
pedicures and stuff, right?
I would occasionally get free shoes. They would pay me in shoes sometimes.
Mm, okay.
And it was a designer called Matt Burnson, and they used to have a store in like Greenwich and then in Tribeca, and like I would go to the Tribeca one because it was my second job, because I worked at a title insurance company as a
Oh God, this all sounds
receptionist.
horrible.
It was horrible. It was so horrible. Like, that was one of the jobs. Like, I would just use headhunters, really, because I've been doing stand up for like, I don't know, 13 years or something. And I would always just, like, when I would get fired, I'd go hit up my headhunters. I'd be like, I'm back. What do you got? And I would just work whatever.
Yeah.
So I think I've had like 15 or 16 different day jobs.
You got to do it.
Ranging.
It's the white hustle.
You gotta do the white hustle. My God, I could never ask for money from my parents. They didn't fucking have money to give. So I had to be scrappy. And so anyway, we were talking about birth. Let's see.
I
Yeah.
don't even
So
remember what we.
pregnancy part was nuts. Oh yeah, I was touring. That's what we were talking about. It was very easy. First trimester, I had 0 morning sickness. That's why I was so shocked to learn that I was pregnant. I was like, what? I was 2 weeks late. I took one test. It was positive. And I was like, they probably make these the same place as the COVID tests. They're probably all positive. Fuck
Oh
it.
no, if
I
it's
threw it
positive,
out.
yeah.
I threw it out. I was like, waited another week. Still late. Now I'm 3 weeks late. And so I had Frank take me. I bought 4 pregnancy tests. I took them all. They all said pregnant in different ways, like hieroglyphics, words, symbols. I was like, well, there might be
You
some.
look outside, there's smoke signals. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you dumb bitch, you're pregnant. I was like, wow, how rude on this one. And then I kind of like had this moment where I just like looked down at my stomach and I was like, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't planned. We had just gotten married in June
Yeah.
of last year, and I was pregnant
Yeah.
in July
That's
of
awesome.
last year.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Your body's like, bitch, finally.
Yeah, I think it was a God, like God was involved, because like
Oh yeah.
we've gone this whole time without even a scare. But we were also like very careful too, because my husband has a 13-year-old stepson. So it's like, what, you know what I mean? Like, once you have a kid and you're not married, your plucking becomes impeccable.
Yeah. People
So,
think that withdrawal is inefficient, but there have been tons of studies on this, and it is over a year, if done correctly, it's as effective as condom usage.
oh yeah, we're the pull-out kings and queens of Westchester. Like, it's it worked for us. I don't know, and was never on birth control. I was on birth control for a year when I was like 22.
People think getting pregnant is a lot easier than it actually is. Yeah.
I think you can only get pregnant, something like 4 or 5 days out of the
5
month?
days out of the month. Yeah, and I do know some babies that were withdrawal babies, but, like, when I talk to people about it, I'm like, I mean, did he withdraw completely? And they're like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, then this is not, what was your plan here?" Like,
Wow.
yeah.
I thought you meant like drug withdrawal. I'm like, does that make you more fertile?
Probably.
And,
Wow.
I was shocked. I was so shocked. I just really, because they tell women that the second you hit 30, my God, your whole body is tanking, you're worthless, nothing's gonna work the way you think it will. And then once you're hit 35, that rhetoric just amplifies and
Yeah.
you get a lot more shit, and, people tell you how old and useless you are. So I just didn't think that this was gonna happen, so quickly.
No,
And,
that's awesome. Yeah.
we were like we were at the place where we were like, we would totally welcome a kid, but we weren't like, I took my temperature and let's do it, hubby. Like, I'm gonna be fertile for the next 2 days. Let's do it. Like, that's so lame to me. And I know people have
That's how my daughter was conceived. I was, like, militant about it. Like, my husband would come
oh
into the bedroom like he was going to the gallows. He'd be like, "I can't." It would be, like, on
yeah.
day 6. I'm like, "Figure it out." It was so not fun.
He feels like a male porn star. Get it up. What do I have to shoot something in there?
I was so awful. Man, he's a champ. Oh, boy.
That's so
Yes,
sweet.
motherhood, the beauty of motherhood. I am super grateful, and your son is, he's just so cute. He's a
Thank
little
you.
bean.
I'll have to send you more pictures. And then yeah, so but I still wanted to tour because I was like, I don't know how many shows I'll be able to do once he's born. So I went. I think I took something like 12 round trip flights the whole time I was pregnant, and third trimester I just started getting big, and I just felt like a fucking rhino.
Can't,
In
yeah.
fact, my friend told me that I was breathing like a rhino. That I didn't expect either. How much you're like, you breathe heavy. I would be doing stand up. I'd be 5 minutes into my set, winded. I'd be like, I
Yeah.
need to sit down. How the
Yeah.
fuck am I gonna last an
Yeah, yeah.
hour?
Do you know why that is?
No, because you're making more blood.
Yes, your blood supply increases by 50%. Yeah. You have 7 pounds
Ooh.
in your body just in blood.
Whoa.
It's really gnarly. Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for how much weight you gain. Like, I don't know how existing fat bitches deal with it, because I was in the best shape of my life and I still went up to 180, and I was like, how did this happen? I'm not even eating everything in sight.
Yep.
I'm just eating bread again.
Yeah, that's true. But having a big baby is a lot easier than having a small baby. I've had both. And my baby, my 9-pounder, She's just like comes out of the womb. It's like there wasn't even a newborn period. She's like, I'm
Oh,
here. She was rolling over at 3 months both way. I'm like,
wow.
yeah, she's amazing. I'm so pleased that it's been
9
so easy.
pounds. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
Little Frankie was 7'12".
Oh,
And
that's perfect.
and I was expecting him to be even bigger because he was like a week early. And Frank's first son was 10 pounds. So I was really scared that I'd have to be pushing out a 10-pounder.
Oh yeah. People act like it's the same, like the baby. No, I gave birth to a 6.5 pound and a 9 pounder, and that 9 pounder just blasted out my pelvic floor. It was so much worse.
You feel
It was
every ounce. You're like, ooh, okay.
Oh, yeah, totally. I got a rebounder, those trampolines, so I could get some extra cardio. Can't use it, pee myself every time. Just
Oh.
yeah, it's a
Well,
bummer.
I'm still trying to figure out like what happened down there because, and I don't mean like my pussy because that feels fine and like tight and good and like I don't know like it doesn't. I haven't actually like looked at it. I've caught a reflection in a puddle. I'm like, well, it looks about the same. No, I'm not like studying it or anything. But I just you remember how I'm trying to figure out like when you're working out and you like clench your butt muscles or you flex and like you're just I don't know because I was an athlete in college and it just feels different. And again, this is not like a coochie sexual thing. It's like your lower back. It all feels like weirdly different down there and
Yes.
like
Well,
kind
your
of
pelvis has to expand. So, like, your bones are further apart, and then the passage through all of those, vaginal muscles just stretches them out, I mean, and then, it damages your rectum too. So, like
rectum.
yeah, yeah, it
What?
does, yeah.
I don't think I had butthole damage. Everything feels fine.
I'm not this is not a commentary on my butthole, I just want
Did your
everybody to
baby
know.
come out of your butthole, Rebecca?
No, no, but that's the reason that women get hemorrhoids and things like that during pregnancy, because it's just so much pressure
Oh.
on that part of their body. Yeah, it's a bummer. The whole thing is a bummer. I like it when people talk candidly about birth because I see people like Ballerina Farms, and I'm like, how the fuck? How the
People
fuck?
love to hate on her. I love to
She's
follow
like
her. I'm
superhuman. She's
fascinated.
beautiful and
She's
yeah.
a fucking runway model.
Yeah.
She's had what, 6 or 8
She's
kids or
had 8
something?
kids, yeah. Mhm.
I think did she marry into a rich family or did she come
Yes,
from one or both?
his family, owns JetBlue, the
Oh,
airline, yeah.
oh, just oh, just JetBlue. I would settle for marrying into the Spirit Airlines family.
Yeah, really. So I'm pretty sure they're, like, billionaires. And
Ooh.
everybody's like, "She gave up this life at Juilliard," which I kind of understand. That was, like, an elite thing just for her.
Was
So it
she a
does bum
oh,
me
right,
out.
she was a
Yeah.
ballerina, duh, hence the name.
An elite I think she was, like, prima ballerina
Wow,
quality.
like Black Swan, like
Yeah, yeah.
anorexic? Ooh. So
Ooh,
you look
mm.
at someone like her, she's like a stick and she's got a really
Yeah.
small frame and you're like, "How did the babies?" Because 'Cause I'm sturdy, like, I'm of sturdy German stock, so I'm like, I always had, like, hips, shoulders, you know what I mean? I can take a punch. So I just it was and I see, like, these very small women, I'm like, How do they do it?"
Yeah, and she's, I think she's my age, so it's not like she's having kids when she's 20. So, I'm sure she's dealing with some of the damage, but she just 12 days after she gave birth to her 8th child, she was in skin tight gowns at her pageant and stuff, and I was like, still wearing diapers and stuff. I'm like, I there's just in no world where I would be able to do something like this. I'm
It's
so
pretty
inferior.
giving birth is so humbling. Like, I actually really love how humbling it was. Like, because
Yeah.
I've not that I'm a tough mudder type person, but I've done a couple of those like races, like Spartan 10K or whatever. And you just love this feeling of like, wow, you've been tested, you've been pushed to
Yeah.
your physical limits, and you're absolutely just blasted by physical activity. And giving birth kind of feels like that. It feels like you've run a marathon. It feels like a truck ran over you like back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
And like when it's all over, you're like, wow, I survived. Like that's
Yeah.
really I is
Yeah,
it
you
weird?
can't believe
It's
that
a
you did
cool
it.
feeling. You're like,
Mhm.
I did it. I'm ruined. That you're just like, wow, I survived. But
Yeah.
when he was coming out, I was just worried about the baby. Like, is he okay?
Oh, yeah.
Is he retarded? Is he gay? Like, tell
Yeah.
me what.
How many fingers and toes and everything like that, like,
Mhm.
I do kind of regret getting an epidural because I kind of wish that I had put myself in a more difficult position, and then I would know that I had that
Girl,
hero's journey.
that's what I tried to do. I'd never wanted an epidural. I was gonna again, I was watching all the Instagram videos. I was like, I can do this without any. I don't even want an Advil. I'm German. I don't need pills or drugs. And so they admit you. They immediately put me on side attack because they're like, well, we got to start your
Because your water broke,
contractions.
yeah.
If your water broke, you're already having contractions. So they said we have to organize your contractions, which is code for make them worse and faster.
Yeah.
And so I did side attack overnight. It's just a little bit of like something that dissolves in your mouth, and then they
Did
started
that
me on.
work?
I don't know. Who knows?
Did they have
Like,
to give you Pitocin after that?
then they put me on Pitocin, which is in a bag. It's like liquid in a bag. They stick you, and I've never been stuck with something like they stuck it in
Yeah,
my hand, and I don't like. It
and
just
it's
reminds me of
cold too, yeah.
yeah, and you're like ooh, and I had a fluid bag and Pitocin, and that shit. Woo! It makes your contractions so
So
much
much worse.
harder, and
Yes, and then you don't have the waters to protect you from the pain, so it's also worse because your water had already broken.
right, and, like, and then they put me on the fluids, and so I thought I was just gonna labor. I still didn't want the epidural, so I labored for 4 hours on this Pitocin with the most like, pain at an 11 or a 12,
Yeah.
with these contractions coming, like, every 3 minutes or something like
Yep.
that, or sometimes less than that, and I didn't realize I had done that for 4 hours, and you have no idea how much longer that's gonna be. Like, if
Yeah.
they had told you, "Look, it's gonna be the worst pain of your life for 4 hours, but then he's out," I'd be like, "Great, sign me up."
Yeah. But you
But
don't know,
you
and you
don't
can't
know.
reserve strength for a journey that you don't know
And
how long it's gonna be, yeah.
that's what's scary is you're already so, like, done physically. You're like,
Mhm.
you have no energy because and then, so then I was like, "Good, let's get that, is that epidural guy still here? Is he,
Yeah.
did he have lunch? Did he check out?" And so he comes, utmost professional, and I was
They are
nervous because
pros, right?
oh my god, I was
Yeah.
like, "He's so good." I was like, "How much money is he making doing this?" All the money.
$600,000 a year, yeah.
And I was nervous because I have a nurse in front of me. I'm, like, digging my nails into her forearms. I'm, like, holding her arms, and I was so worried that I was gonna cause him to fuck up because I'm having these contractions, like,
Yeah.
while he's trying to, like, stick this in my back, and I'm glad I didn't, like, take a look at the needle because it's like,
Oh, no, you can't
it's a
look, yeah.
it's a big
Yeah.
ass needle going right in your spine. And but he did great. It was like and then all of a sudden, it's like
Just
your lower
relief.
half just
Oh,
melts, and then
yeah.
you're laying on your side. I remember I was smacking my thigh. I couldn't feel shit. I
Real
was like,
thing, yeah.
I don't like I was like, "I really don't like that. I don't like that. I can't feel it." How do they expect you to push when your whole lower half is numb and you can't feel a thing?
They just tell you to push, yeah.
I kind of pushed poorly, and I still beat myself up over that. Like, first push would be good, second and third, I feel like I made no progress. They're like, "Do you wanna feel his head?" I'm like, "No! I don't even know
Yeah, they're
I'm
like, "Do
doing
you want
this."
us to break out the mirror?" I'm like, "That is the stuff of nightmares, you guys, shut up."
Mirror,
Yeah,
mirror.
yeah.
My wax lady has a mirror. She always like she's like a barber. She's like, "Do you want to see?" And then she shows the little mirror, and I'm like, "Ah, I don't
No,
wanna
no, no,
see that
no, no.
now. Let's let me
Get
see it in
outta
a
here.
let me get in here. Let me see. I'm gonna look at it in a couple of days when things calm down."
Yeah,
Okay,
really.
Oksana. So I felt like I was a bad pusher, and I think that the doctor lady said something bad, like, she kinda she said under her breath, like, Frank heard, like, "Oh, I wasn't getting any help from the mother," and I really beat myself over that, and I was like,
Oh my
"How come I didn't"
god.
and I'm, like, fucking in good shape, really strong. I was like, "How is it pushing so hard for me?" And then the more I talk to other moms, like, who's a great resource is Kim Coulter. She's Ann Coulter's niece, but she's had a bunch of babies too, and she's like, "Don't beat yourself up. You're laying on your fucking back with an epidural. Everything's going against
The pushing,
how
yeah.
nature would want you." The baby basically has to go up against gravity to, like, come out of you. I
She
just
shouldn't have
remember
said that. Jeez.
yeah, that sucked, and I was like, because he was born with a little bit of water on his lungs. He had trouble, turning pink and, like,
Well,
doing the
how
whole
long were you pushing?
once I started pushing, an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's how long I was with my daughter too.
Yeah,
Second
and
time though, that baby just
it
shoots
slides
right out of
out,
your vagina, yeah.
right. It slides out like a
3
s
pushes the
but
second
the
time, yeah.
first baby has to be like the Kool-Aid man because you're so tight down there and everything is so muscularly held together. It's gotta be like, "Get me the fuck? It's got to
Yeah.
like break out through like a fireman.
Oh god.
It's fun.
Oh man. Well, this all sounds terrible.
It's
I
cool.
it
I
is
think
cool.
everyone should go through it. I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing, and then you get the biggest prize. So, I think that people that are hearing stuff like this and, I'm always on Instagram and not always, but, like, when I'm scrolling through, like, my mom Instagram where people are complaining about their kids or whatever, there are all these comments like, "This is why I'm not having kids, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "This is a tiny fraction of what it's like to have kids, the birth and having young kids and everything. People need to be thinking about what it's going to be like when you have a teenager, when you have
Mhm.
adult children. Like this is a small window. Don't make decisions based on that. It's like the birth, yeah, it sucks, but I know a lot of people where they had beautiful births and with my last child it was lovely. It was really really nice. Some of my friends have described painless births. I'm skeptical.
What? Oh, who
Yeah.
are these people that have orgasmic births?
Yeah, I'm not
What
buying it either. Yeah.
how do I sign up for that? Who do I have to pay to do
Spa
that?
housewife, yeah. This Instagram witch doctor that I follow, she's always talking about having orgasmic birth. I'm like, I don't believe this. I don't
I don't want people to see me having an orgasm.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
That's
that's
worse than
weird.
people seeing you poop, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh god, I didn't poop, which I was so happy
They're
about.
lying to you. You totally pooped.
No, I did because I went a lot before. So there was nothing left. I think I just was nervous and, like, when they put me on the drugs, I just was like, "What's happening?" I don't
Yeah.
so
If you do it again, are you gonna have an epidural?
I'm probably gonna try not to again, which is so stupid, right? Because it was so painful.
No.
I think if, well, right, I had to do the Pitocin because my water had broken and they wanted to move it along. So, I guess, yes, if something weird like that happens again, but I would try to see the goal is to go as long as you can without any kinda interventions, right?
Yeah.
So,
But if your water doesn't break the second time, so my water broke with Emmeline, and then with Annalise, my water did not break, and those contractions were not nearly as bad. I was able to labor by myself for way longer.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier. We're 30 minutes in. I haven't asked you any of my questions.
Oh, no. Okay.
No, it's
I'm
okay. It's
ready.
okay. It's good. It's organic. But I wanted to ask you about comedy and how that relates to motherhood. Do you think that being a mom has changed what you think is funny?
Ooh. Um, yes and no, because I have the yes, because I have the real life experience of like, okay, now I can relate with moms. I can relate with you know, grandparents, I guess. Sometimes you feel like but then there is part of me that's like, I still feel like a Kathy cartoon. Like I just wake up and act, you know. I just wanted to get shoes. Um, you have more subject matter to joke about, but I'm still the same person. I still have the same sense of humor. It really kind of I think it amplifies my sense of humor because you don't give a fuck anymore. You're just
Yeah.
like you're a little bit more honest. You're a little cuz like you're more tired and you have so much more responsibility. So it's almost like my capacity to beat around the bush and like be not be kind to people, but
It's
like
reduced. It's drastically yeah,
it's
I totally
reduced, and you're just like you're fucking like you're telling it like it is even quicker than usual.
Yeah,
Um,
I hear that from
yeah.
people. They're like or I get messages from people like, "Aren't you worried when your daughters see, like, what you've done on the internet?" I'm like, "Alright, I
What
don't."
you've done? Were you in
Yeah,
a
like, what I've
ho
say
did you
yeah.
get banged by a horse or something? Like,
I
what do you
know.
mean? A whole
It's which I
podcast?
think is like an outrageous thing to say because, I want them to look back and be like, "Well, mom did this thing to try to stop the world from going down the tubes." And so I wondered if it was like that for comedy, like, you care less, you say more, you're more unencumbered, more uninhibited.
Yes, definitely. There was a point during my last show where I just was like, "I don't know if any of these things are jokes or just shit I can't say in front of my husband," you know? And it was just got this big laugh of like, you're just unleashing.
'Cause some of comedy is catharsis for the comedian. It's not
Oh,
all
yeah.
about the audience. I mean, the audience is important and everything like that, but, some of it just has to be, like, the way that you make sense of the world and of trauma and what you're dealing with your life.
because that's what drew me to it in the first place. I got into
Yeah.
stand-up because I felt like it was the only place I could be honest, without hurting somebody's feelings. I was raised in kind of like a and, you know, don't feel like I'm about to go into a whole like, "Oh, in our childhood, I was a victim." No, we was raised like middle class, like normal, not rich, but not like, eating bugs at night. And but I got into stand-up because I felt like I could just be honest on stage, whereas I didn't feel like I could be really honest about my feelings with my family because it would be like, quit your bitching or like stop making a big deal of it. Like if I felt like my brother or sister or parent did something to hurt my feelings, they would kind of be like, suck it
Walk it
up. Like
off.
nobody
Yeah.
cares, like we're just trying to earn a living and feed you dumb fucks. So
Ironically, that probably gave you the ability to do stand-up comedy though, because there's so much criticism.
yeah. Oh, if I had gotten like so much attention growing up and like was able to talk about my
Coddled.
feelings, and if like my dad was like a cared about feelings kind of guy, yeah, I would not be in stand up. I would have been like just a normal chick, but it was such a great outlet because isn't that funny? It's like you feel like the stakes are lower with a room full of strangers than they are with your own family, but
Well,
that's
they
what I
are,
was
aren't
at.
they?
Yeah.
Because who cares what some stranger says about you? I mean,
Yeah, you'll never see them again, but if you're
yeah,
honest with your family, you're like, "God, I could hurt somebody's feelings," and then you have to deal with
right.
that.
Thanksgiving's gonna be a nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of audience members, Leonardo, what is her name? I'm gonna have
Joni,
her on.
Leonardo
Yes,
Joni. She's
we've
fun. I love her.
made
We're buds.
contact because I saw her Lizzo joke, and that was my introduction to her. And so I messaged her. I'm
What
like,
is her
we
Lizzo joke?
She says, "Why I am sick of seeing all these fat, retarded black people on TV." And then her friend is like, "Hey, that's Lizzo. She's not retarded." Um,
That's
Her
great.
delivery, of course, is better. But I linked up with her and I've been watching her comedy, and it seems like the audience, there's this resurgence in the ability to make jokes like they used to, even in the early 2000s. Like if you watch some of those early Chris Rock specials, it's like none of this stuff could even be said by a black person today. But then I see her and I see you and I see some of these people coming out, and I'm like, I feel like it might be okay now to talk about retards and black people and retarded black people.
And I think, God, I wanna even thank, new Twitter. It's not perfect, but,
It's
um,
better. It's a lot
it's
better,
it's
yeah.
better. We can say fag now, we can say retard, and, it's gonna feel harder for the not to call myself like a pioneer, like, I'm so great because I was saying retard,
But
and I
like
was
the early days when everything
yeah,
was woke, yeah.
I was making racist jokes before it was before it was, easier to do, but, yeah, you get flack and not even for, I'm not even particularly edgy, but just, my god, I've done a lot in the last few years that's made me kind of hated by, uh, all types of people, fellow.
Why? What is the worst thing that's giving you the most
Oh
backlash?
my god, probably being an out Trump voter and going to January 6th, like, really fully ostracized me from the New York City comedy community. It's not even a community, but it's, very liberal, and, it's very much like high school, kind of like any industry is, um, but it just was like it's just like a mega ostracized? I don't know. I felt
You did
like
it. I think one of
you were
those
like,
was
"Wow," like, friends just drop you and, they make assumptions about you instead of, like, hitting you up and asking you questions about it. They just like, "Well, we're gonna call the FBI on her." Anyone who hasn't liked you in the last 20 years, like, "Well, now's their chance to talk shit."
yeah.
But
Yeah,
it makes you tough. It makes you stronger.
yeah. That's true, yeah. It still sucks though. It's like you know me. You actually know me, like IRL. Come
Yeah.
on, people, use your critical thinking skills. But we weren't born, we were made. I didn't want to be like this. I didn't wake up one day and decide to be some kind of internet racist. It just happened.
Not
God.
racist. That's funny.
Yeah, it's a weird life. It starts with one thing you think nobody's gonna watch, and then suddenly you've destroyed your possibilities for having like a legitimate career, and you kind of just have to go with it. And that's that.
It sounds so gay, like, oh, you got to be true to yourself, but you have to be so honest with yourself. And it's like you're gonna go. It's gonna be hard. Like for me, it's like you lost friends, you lose connections, you lose what feels like almost everything, and then you keep going, and you'll get on the other side of it, and then you really will kind of find your tribe. You'll get better at your
Yeah,
craft
totally. You
process.
go into the crevasse, go deeper into the
Go
crevasse.
in,
Say
go
you
head
do it.
first into
Yeah.
the nutty putty cavern, and except you won't die head first.
Yeah.
You'll find your way.
Say faggot. Just write one tweet that says faggot, and then your trajectory
I
your
mean,
trajectory will be amazing.
it's not just about saying faggot. Like I do find it cringe the people who think like that's enough to be funny or to be considered a comedian just to say words that are edgy. It's like, no, why? It's like, who are you calling a faggot and why?
That's true. I do appreciate when normies just drop it into casual conversation because it's indicative of the widening of the Overton window. And like,
True.
I'm 36, so in high school
You're
we just
36?
I am,
You
yeah.
don't look it at all.
Thank you.
Wow.
We would just talk about whatever we wanted. We would be like, "Shut up, you stupid Jew faggot." And it was just the way
Right.
that people talk to each other. And now I hear people talk to each other and I'm like, "This is so lame. How they're not even mean to each other. What's the point of being friends if you're not gonna be mean to each other?"
The Overton window has shifted online for sure, although I don't think people are talking like that IRL yet.
We will.
We'll get there.
Yep, we will get there. Um, so what are you doing now to create this kind of world for your child that you want? Because that was the big thing with me. Like as soon as I had kids, it was such an awesome responsibility, to realize that you have to leave them a world in which they can survive.
Mhm.
Um, and it seems like what we're doing is small, and it probably is, but I want my girls to exist in a world where it's just not gonna be so difficult. So what is your goal? How do you feel like you should contribute to that
Mm.
new world? What does it look like?
God, I don't think I could actually change the world. I feel more like, okay, it's my job to equip him with tools that he can weather the storm and not be a pussy
That's important, yeah.
and like roll with whatever the world serves him up and isn't going to be a victim and like is going to be quick on his feet and resourceful and scrappy and all the
Scrappy.
things that I feel
Yeah.
like were good qualities for me. Yeah, like ideally the best of me, the best of Frank, we figure it out. We funnel it into him and it is so yeah, that's what you were saying before. Don't think of it as the baby face. Just think of it like you're making a person. You're just like ushering him through this life. You're going to be a nurturer in one phase, you're going to be friend in another, or some parents are never really friends with their kids, but um
Yeah. I gotta push
mentor,
back on that though,
counselor.
because you have a public facing job, and then arguably the biggest cultural influence is comedy. And so I do think that you want to change things.
Right. I think we should be able to make fun of anybody. No group is too special or too black or too retarded for us to make fun of them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so if I can contribute in a small way to the world, it would be to hammer that point home is like no one is so special that they can't be made fun of.
That's so true. Yeah, that is somewhat reassuring that I'm seeing this come out. I'm like, "Oh, is it time? Can we come out of these caves and talk about all these things that we've been, avoiding for years and years?" Man, I watched Candace Owens a few weeks ago, and I was like I couldn't even believe the stuff that was coming out of her mouth. Can you imagine
Really?
if you had the impervious cloak of minority status, how much shit you would be able to push it so much further.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because they can't come for you when you're black. So
Yeah,
lucky. They're so lucky. They
I
really are.
know. It was just the shit she was saying, I was like, "Whoa." Like, real questioning details of the Holocaust and all sorts of stuff.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yep. And I hate to be like, "This black chick is gonna save us," but I'm still happy to see it.
Yeah. Good for
Happy
her.
to
If I were Candace Owens, I would loot a Target once a week just because I could.
I know, right? She's so rich. Do you know what her net worth is?
I don't know, 10 million or something.
It's $130 million.
What?
Because her net worth is $30 million, and then she married a guy that's from, like, aristocratic English money.
Fancy.
Yes,
Pinkies
and
up.
yeah, I know, they got real cute kids, and she
I
she's
haven't
really
seen their
played the
kids.
game.
What does she have,
Played the game
3?
perfectly. She has 3, yeah.
She did play the game perfectly.
Yeah,
She, like, hid entire pregnancies.
yeah.
I wish I could have done that, like, just not tell anybody, but, like, I'm on stage, I'm like, "I don't want people to think I'm getting fat," so
So fat.
I had to tell people.
What do you think about this argument that the right is not funny and that they aren't creating art?
Ooh. Well, when you speak in generalities, that's true, but it's always easier to group people, rather than take people at an individual level, like, I wouldn't really consider myself conservative, but I get lumped into that because I'm just not a liberal anymore, and
Yeah.
I'm not woke, and I am for free speech and, all the things, right? Trump, January 6th, so I fit into that box more neatly. In general, the right, yeah, takes itself a bit too seriously,
Seriously.
and, God, there are funny people on the right, but, like, it's the right can't really see that, because you don't fit perfectly into the box. You're not a Christian conservative, so you're not, like, good enough to be in our posse. But it's true, everybody who's producing art, the channels, that's all leftists, for sure. Hollywood, New York City, all the main creative hubs have all been plagued with coastal elites and, but the
Coastal
tables have
elites, you
the
say.
coastal elites,
Hmm.
but now you can be, crushing it and living in the middle of Ohio because of social media.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I think the right has been, like, kind of lazy about it. I don't think the right just thinks it's important. Like, yeah, the Daily Wire is sort of trying to make comedy films, like, they're trying, but
Ooh.
there needs to be more of it. I just don't think they find it that important yet.
It's really important. It's really important to be making film, making TV, and I know that some people are trying, but I am seeing most of the creative energy on the left, and that bums me out, but so much of it is just propaganda.
Mhm. Oh,
It's
yeah.
yeah.
I was it's funny because I, like, should have been a very famous, stand-up when I first started because I was, like, a white feminist living in Brooklyn who hated my dad, and, I had everything going for me to yeah, right, feminist, didn't have plans to get married or have kids, like, had all the feminist talking points down. I studied women's studies in college. Um
What?
Yes! Oh, yeah, I was a foaming at the mouth feminist and, social justice warrior.
What happened? How did this transformation happen?
Oh my god, really? My mom died in 2018, and I started to go on more podcasts, and, really it was partially meeting my husband and, like, slowly being introduced to, like, the Steven Crowders, the, Michael Malices,
Mm.
and, like, that sorta helped to, like, crack it open a little bit, and then,
Yeah.
'cause I didn't vote for Trump in 2016, I voted for Jill Stein for some reason.
Oh!
I was like, I'm just gonna light this vote on fire, and, yeah, honestly, it was my husband just sort of, like, slowly questioning my point of view,
Yeah.
over and we've been together, like, 10 years, so, um, he just checked me, I think, like, low key checked me on some of my beliefs and, like, instead of being like, "Fuck you," and breaking up, I just sort of thought about, like, "Why do I feel how I feel?" "Oh, it's because I went to a liberal arts school in Connecticut, and I have been programmed this way, and,
Yes, yeah,
I have I did have dad issues, and that shaped my view of men for many years." So and then anyways, I started going on more podcasts, started going on Compound Media, and I realized I had the same sense of humor as all those guys, and, those guys they're not liberal, they're not really leftists, so and then I kind of, my god, I was canceled by this chick who, she was like a New York City comic with like she had a Netflix credit, and I kind of made fun of her, and she just like she reacted really poorly to being parodied and sort of dragged me through the mud. She would go to these comedy festivals and talk shit about me and like oh my god. And then another god, there's so much shit that happens to you. Like I would not recommend anybody pursue comedy. Like I was banned from a club because I dated a guy that the owner wanted to date. She had been hooking up
What?
with she
Oh,
had
it
been
was a
hooking
chick. Okay.
she had been hooking up with him like that whole summer, and then I started dating him that fall. She found out, banned me from her club. But now like her club in New York closed down. She opened one now in Austin, Texas. So I'm sure that ban carried over. And that's from 2011, 2012. So
Women
like
can hold a grudge.
women should never ever run businesses. It's just
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of women, they're like, "Oh, we can do anything." I'm like,
but should
isn't it a
you?
relief to you to know that you don't have these expectations? Like, lower the expectations of yourself, of other women. It's just a relief. When I realized that I didn't have to girl boss my way through life, I was like, "Huh, thank God I don't have to do this or
Right.
to
But
sit in a
you
cube." Yeah.
think you have to girl boss it because you think a guy is gonna ultimately fuck you over, because if you can't trust in a guy to have your back and be a partner with you, then yeah, you do have to do it all, by
Mhm.
yourself, and that's scary, and women resent that fact, and that's why they develop the sort of thick outer shell of cuntiness, but it's a protective layer. It's not feminists don't mean to be cunty, they don't want to be irritable and unapproachable. It's just that's what you have to do when you don't trust that someone's gonna have your back.
I don't know. I think that they wear it like armor. In the same way that I'm seeing so many ugly young women, they're doing all of these things, this visible signaling to make themselves less sexually
Yes.
attractive. Yeah, I
Like
think that
what
they
like
just
like what, Kamala's, granddaughter
oh
or
god, yeah.
stepdaughter or stepdaughter,
Stepdaughter,
like,
yeah.
actively hideous, not just
Yes.
yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you do that? Why would you do that if you wanted people to think that you were feminine or interesting or anything like that? It's just armor that you wear to be like, "I'm not your typical woman."
It's kind of an arrogance. It's these girls think that they have looks to spare so that they can, like, be ugly and still
Yeah.
be cute, because you can see underneath it all, like, with
Yeah, yeah,
Kamala's stepdaughter, she's cute under all that. It's like
yeah.
she's just like she thinks she's got cute to spare, and it's like, "No, nobody has
No,
cute to
you're not
spare."
Natalie Portman shaving your head for V for Vendetta. That's like you
Right.
can't do it.
You're not
All
doing
women
important
no,
work.
women need to be looks maxing to the best of their abilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
It takes you a long time. It takes you years to figure out how to do your hair, how to dress for your body type, what
Why is
makeup, what
nobody
colors.
helping Pearl? I don't understand it.
She makes herself unhelpable. She is very bristly and thorny. She doesn't want help.
But she's
She
tall, she's white, she's ginger, like, I could do something with her. Every time I see her, I'm like, "This is what I would
she
do."
needs a push-up bra. I would gather whatever is in and around her chest area and
Mm.
get that into a push-up bra. Um,
Volume at the roots, Pearl,
yes,
volume at the roots.
yes.
Yeah.
Put your head upside down.
Yeah.
Hit a blow dryer on that thing.
Like,
Um,
somebody's gotta be around her that, and I've seen her look pretty good before, and I know that
really?
she can do it. Well,
For her.
yeah, she's not unsightly. Um, eh, I feel like she could pull herself up to, like, a 7.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's tall. She has to make sure, like, you gotta I don't know what her feet look like or legs, but, she's salvageable. I've
Mm.
tried. I wanted to get her on my podcast. She's like, "You have to pay me $5,000." That's
What?
that's her price. Yeah. 5 big ones.
Seriously? I've never
Yeah.
had somebody ask me to pay them to come on my
Yeah.
podcast.
And for a couple weeks in a row, I'd send her a link to Simpcast every Sunday, and she'd just write back $5,000, and she'd send her Venmo. It's kind of funny. Now it's like kind of a cute back and forth we have. I go, "Here's a link," and she goes, $5,000.
Yeah. I, like, low key love to hate her. She sent me into labor?
What?
Okay, so I was having contractions for 6 weeks before
What?
I was, yeah, and some of them were, like,
What
regular
does that feel
contractions.
like?
They weren't super painful, but, I like, every day for 6 weeks, I was like, today's going to be the day because my daughter, my first daughter, was really early, so it was really annoying. It's called prodromal labor. So I would have like elevating contractions every 4 minutes for like 3 hours, and they would just stop. I went to
Whoa.
the labor and delivery like 4 times. It was so annoying. So then
Wow.
finally they start to get really painful, and I'm up in the middle of the night and I'm like rage tweeting or whatever. And then she retweeted something disparaging about me. Honestly, I was so pissed and I can't even remember what it is now. And so we're just in this Twitter battle, and like I'm so fucking pissed. Like my eye twitch comes back. I'm like, "Ugh." And then while I'm rage tweeting, I have a contraction that's like really bad. And I'm like, this is it. And then I go to the hospital. They're like, you're ready. You're 3 centimeters dilated. Let's get you into labor. I'm like, did Pearl seriously just send me? Did I rage stroke myself
Wow.
into having this baby?
If she could bottle that and sell it to the pharmaceutical companies,
I know.
she would make so
You don't need
much.
Pitocin. You need, I don't
Yeah,
know
you just
why
need
she doesn't make
she
me
could
as mad
call it,
anymore though.
oh my god, Rebecca, we call it Pearl Tocin,
Pearl Tocin.
and it's just you're like, I thought about, like, do I wanna live tweet my birth? Do I wanna mention it at all to people? And it's like, you have this moment of, like, I wanna tell I feel obligated to tell people what's going on with me. Obviously, people know I'm pregnant, like, there was a baby pool going on. People were betting on, like, when he was gonna come, and, like, and I just was like, "No, because if I live tweet it, then, like, what if I black out or something?" And I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk to people about it until I knew everything was fine and everything was over. And I don't know. I don't know. This Pearl thing, I
It's
used to love
wild.
to hate her so much more.
It's like you're on it's like a whitewater rafting trip. I don't know, birth is fucking cool. I don't know, it must be very German of me that I like how hard it is, like, I like how challenging it is.
Yeah.
And it's so out of control too, like, you think you know
It
what your
is like
plan's gonna
whitewater
be.
rafting. Yeah. And then once it starts, there's nothing you can do. My friend described it as
Mhm.
like you wake up and you're strapped into a crazy roller coaster. And then you're just like, all right, I just have to fucking do this now. This is
Yeah.
what's happening. And that's totally what it was like for me. I was just like, once it starts, it's like, I just have to get through this. That's it.
And it really checks you, like, I just thought I was gonna skate through with no drugs. I was on a bunch of drugs. I didn't There was fentanyl in my epidural. I didn't want fentanyl at all. I was really pissed about that, and then it makes you throw up. I'm, like, throwing up.
Yeah.
Um, it's really neat. And then you're shaking, and I think
Yeah.
it's they say, "Oh, this is a normal part of labor." I think it's the drugs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you're shaking for a long time, like, I was shaking, my teeth were chattering, and you're trying to, like, hold your baby, and you're like, "When is this fucking shaking gonna
Yeah.
stop?" It's, like, so unglamorous, and then they go, "Let's get a picture of you right away," and you're like, "I've literally never looked worse in my
Yeah.
life.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Now
But
we're gonna take a picture."
you cherish that picture. Yeah, but it's just so cool. And I've read a lot of studies about the endurance of pregnancy and how it pushes you to your physical limits. Your bodily, you are maxed out like an athlete. Like the amount of work that your body is doing just to get energy to the baby's vital organs, to maintain your own vital organs. Like my heart was just beating out of my chest all the time. I was getting all these heart palpitations and everything like that. And
Wow.
everybody would be like, "Oh, it's normal." Like my toes are swollen. That's normal too. I'm like, "What is not normal?"
And the drugs really fuck you up. The drugs fuck with your heart rate. The drugs drop the baby's heart rate, and
Yep.
then they gotta, like, "Oh, we gotta get in there. The baby's heart rate is dropping." It's 'cause it's a fucking Pitocin, man.
Yep.
And it's
I
just, I
know.
wish there was another way. It's frustrating, like, and then you talk to,
Yeah.
like, more women, they all go through that. They all get put on the same drugs, and they go through the same thing, and, it just shouldn't have to be. And at one point, someone was, like, pushing on my stomach, and I'm
Stomach.
like, "What's
Yeah.
happening?" It's like, "Is he
To
gonna
get the
fucking die
placenta
in
out?
there?" No, to
Oh,
get the
no.
baby out.
Oh gosh, that must have been
It
scary.
was really, really scary. There was a moment where everyone's like, "Chrissy, punch, you have to punch, please." And I go, "Oh god, I'm sucking at this and we're all gonna die." Like, because you're just numb, and I'm holding on to, like, these bars on the bed, so it's like you're just maxing out every muscle in your arm
Oh,
and shoulder,
yeah.
and you're like,
It's so sore after you get
and you're just like every which way, you're tilting, you're adjusting your pelvis, you're like just trying to make all these accommodations. You're like, I'm really trying to do this. And again, I'm not some like lazy fat bitch. Like I've worked out. I was a college athlete. Like I know, how your muscles are working. And but still it's like, wow, it really just
It's really hard.
it humbles you. And I think I needed that because it's just, you think you can control stuff, and God is just like, nope, you're gonna be
This
on
is how it's
drugs
gonna be.
and this is gonna be
Yeah.
out of control.
Isn't it
Yeah.
funny how God tests your weaknesses? I
Yeah.
just see that
But
so much in my life, but it's so worth it.
yeah, and you're another thing I hate is relying on other people. And so it's just like, yep, and everyone's gonna get you through. I felt like I had gone through war. Like I felt like I wanted to like write each nurse, like send them all an edible arrangement. Like I really felt so attached to every nurse and person who
Yeah.
helped me, because it's like you're at your most vulnerable part in your life, and like you just feel like they're all like little angels. Even someone just being nice to you, bringing you a cup of ice, you're like, oh my God,
Thank
why
you.
why did you do that? You didn't have to do that.
And then they immediately forget about you when they leave the room and they go do it for another woman. Like, if you
I
talk to
know.
somebody, like, 6 months later, you're like, "Oh, you were the nurse that assisted on my delivery." She'll be like, I don't remember that at all."
You know who are the coolest people at the hospital at labor and delivery are the lactation consultants, because
Yeah.
they know what's up. Like we were on the same wavelength. Sometimes these doctors would come in and be like, "Oh, so here's a sample of formula." I go, "We're not doing that." Oh,
Yeah.
if it's too stressful to be the baby's only food source, there's formula. I was like, that sounds like fucking pussy shit. That sounds like some
You get
copping
outta
out
here.
bullshit. Really? You think I
Yeah.
went through this 9 months of caring just to fucking throw some formula at
I
him?
know.
No, we're doing this.
Absolutely not, yeah.
We're taking this to the hole, okay? Like, we're gonna yeah, I'm in this another year of breastfeeding, okay? I'm not going the cheap way out. Not
Yeah,
cheap.
yeah.
Formula is way more expensive than breastfeeding. But here's the thing is nobody's gonna make money off of you breastfeeding, so they push the formula on you so hard. But the
Yep.
lactation consultants know what's up, and they go the funniest thing was, like, the first lactation consultant came in, and they are very encouraging, and they said something to me about, "Well, you, not that you have the body for this, but, like, you have, they're basically saying it sounded like they were complimenting me on my big boobs. They're like, "Well, you have the perfect anatomy for this."
They're like,
I
"Thank
just was
you."
like, "I'm gonna remember this forever. Thank you."
Yeah. Finally, this pays off. Oh,
But
man. The changes of the boobs were the most troubling as far as
and it
body changes, yeah.
starts when you're pregnant. Yeah,
Pregnant,
like,
mhm.
your nipples get darker,
That was a
and
bummer, yeah.
I always had, like, sleepy nipples. Like, they were always just like, they just kind of mind their own business. They weren't really, like, out there. They would just kind of
Now they're like, "Hey,
and now they're
ping."
like, "We have a job to do. Hello."
Oh, geez, it's been an hour. Let one more
Oh,
question, and then I'll let you go. So how do you this is a question for me actually, because I would like to know. How do you deal with online criticism as it pertains to having kids late
ooh.
or just having kids in general?
Yes, this sounds like another Pearl question. Right, because I didn't get married and have kids at the right time, at the
Yeah, but she's
appropriate time.
28. That's when I met my husband. It's like things don't happen as fast as you think sometimes, and they happen faster than you think other times. Like,
Everyone is different. I
yeah,
met my husband, I was 30, I think. So it's and we've been together 10 years, and it's everyone's on their own little journey. But right, if I had gotten married and had kids at the right time in my 20s, I would have been with the most dirtbag fucking shitty person. It would have been like a stand-up comic, someone who wasn't even really like working a real job, who probably didn't want to marry. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so that would have been stupid for me. Um, Criticism. No, because I know that I don't fit into a box. I feel like with female comics, like at a certain point, you either turn into an Esther Koo or you turn into a Chelsea Handler. Like it's almost
yeah,
like that you're a train going down the track, and then it's like jung jung jung, like this flashing light, and then you have to divert. It's like you're
yeah,
going one of two paths. You're either embrace singlehood and pretend you never wanted to have kids, even if you regret not getting married and having
Exactly,
kids.
yep.
You have to take that shit to the grave,
You do,
basically,
yeah.
because and then you wear that like a suit of armor, like, "No, I never wanted to have
I
kids.
never
I
wanted
was
to have kids.
never
Mhm.
and never even curious. I'm living a great life. I have a lot of expendable income. Look, I'm in great shape still." Or like, I think Nikki Glazer's the best example of that. And I'm not judging her. Maybe she never wanted to have kids, but she looks fucking amazing and she's hilarious and she's doing her career is like really taking off. Like that Nikki Glazer is best case scenario. And who knows, she might even still get married and have kids. She's maybe what, 38. But she's crushing it. And I think of like, ugh, Chelsea Handler's a little bit like sadder. And to
Yeah.
me, she's like sort of sad single feminist stand-up comic. Or then you like sort of like, and I don't think there are as many examples of female comics who like get married, have kids, are happy, still doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I guess a lot of them drop out. So I kind of wanna be an example of, um,
You can still do it.
like,
Yeah.
you can still do it even though you have less time and you're exhausted and, it's much harder, but
But it is worth it.
yeah.
It is worth it. Thank
What's the alternative? You just stop trying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's you gotta try, you gotta try. Not that people's lives are worthless if they don't have children. A lot of people wanna have children and they can't. But it's not just about enriching your own life. It's like, what about, that child having an opportunity to be born and everything like that? There are a lot of moral
yeah.
implications here.
That's really cool to think about, like, of all the sperms swimming around in your husband's balls, like, this is the
That's the
one
one.
that
Yeah.
made it, and with boy sperm, they swim faster, but they die sooner, and
Mhm.
girl sperms, they swim slower, but they live longer, like, up
Yes.
in your when you get jizzed inside, they hang around longer, like, just hiding behind a rock, waiting for their turn, and then they fucking sneak in. I
Yeah.
think that's and when you think about how amazing it is that we're even born, like, every living person is a miracle, and,
That is so true, and then every single thing that has happened in your life has led you to that specific child, and I don't wanna live in a world where I don't have my 2 my exact children as
wow,
they are.
it's so crazy, and then I'll probably start to think about, like, "Man, like, well, what if I did have kids sooner? What kinda cool people are we missing out on?" But you can't go down that rabbit hole.
And you might not have your little bean.
I don't, I love him. Aw.
On that note, thank you so much for joining me, Chrissy. That was so fun. Um, check her out. Check out our YouTube channel, the hilarious Chrissy Mayr. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Rebecca, this was fun. It flew by.
I know, totally. I was like, we're probably at like 40 minutes. Then I look, it's been an hour. All
Aw.
right. And thank you all for joining us, and we will see you later. Bye.
Bye.